What if I told you the Green Bay Packers have been working on something that most NFL fans still haven't noticed? For months, the conversation has been the same. Can Jordan Love take the next step? Is the young receiving core ready? Can the defense finally become consistent? Those are important questions, but they aren't the biggest story. Because behind every roster move, every draft pick, and every coaching decision, there's one clear strategy that could define the Packers' future for years to come. And once you see the pattern, it's hard to ignore. So what exactly is Green Bay building, and why are more analysts starting to believe this team could surprise the entire NFC? Let's dive in. When people think about the Packers, they naturally think about Jordan Love. After all, he's the franchise quarterback. Every throw, every touchdown, and every mistake gets analyzed from every possible angle. If you look closely at the Packers' decisions over the last couple of seasons, you'll notice something that this organization isn't building around just one superstar. They're building around an entire young core that can grow together. Think about it. Instead of making splashy free agent signings every offseason, Green Bay has focused on developing young talent. They've trusted the draft. They've invested in players who fit their system, and they've shown incredible patience. That approach doesn't always make headlines. But championship teams are often built exactly this way. And here's where things get really interesting, because one position group could decide whether this entire plan succeeds or fails. Jordan Love answered a lot of questions last season. He showed confidence, he stayed composed under pressure, and perhaps most importantly, he proved he belongs. But this season is completely different. Last year, expectations were relatively low. Now, everyone expects improvement. Defensive coordinators have spent months studying his tendencies. They've watched every throw. Every read. Every mistake. That means Jordan Love won't surprise anyone anymore. Instead, he'll have to prove that his late season success wasn't just a hot streak. This is where elite quarterbacks separate themselves from good ones. Can Love recognize defensive disguises faster? Can he stay patient when plays break down? Can he continue making smart decisions late in games? Those answers won't come overnight, but they will shape Green Bay's entire season. And if Love keeps the championship teams are built, balanced football, strong offense, reliable defense, smart coaching. If all three come together, Green Bay could become one of the most dangerous teams in the NFC. But there's one final piece that many people still aren't talking about. Winning isn't just about talent, it's about culture. Walk into successful NFL organizations and you'll notice something. Veterans hold younger players accountable. Competition exists at every position. Nobody feels comfortable. That's exactly the environment Green Bay has been trying to create. Every training camp battle matters. Every practice rep matters. Every roster spot has to be earned. That kind of competition pushes everyone to improve. And that's why coaches keep emphasizing development instead of shortcuts, because if this young roster continues growing together, the Packers won't just be good for one season. They could stay competitive for years, but here's the biggest question of all. What happens when expectations finally match the talent? That's exactly what we'll explore next, because one decision made this offseason could completely change the Packers' ceiling in 2026. Now, here's where the story becomes even more interesting. Every NFL season has a few position battles that quietly shape the entire year. Most fans focus on the quarterback. Others look at the defense. But inside the Packers building, every practice rep matters, because competition creates better football. No starting job should ever feel completely safe. That's exactly how championship organizations operate. Players know they have to earn every snap, every week, and that mindset has become one of Green Bay's biggest strengths, because when talented players compete against each other every single day, the entire roster improves. But competition alone doesn't win championships. On the line. And that's where Jordan Love enters the conversation once again. There's a huge difference between being a good quarterback and becoming the kind of leader who changes games. Last season, Jordan Love proved he belongs in the NFL. This season, the challenge is much bigger. Can he consistently beat elite defenses? Can he deliver in the biggest moments? Can he lead comeback drives when everything is falling apart? Those are the questions every franchise quarterback eventually faces. The encouraging part is that Love has already shown flashes of those qualities. He's remained calm under pressure. He's trusted his reads, and he's continued improving with experience. But now comes the difficult part. Consistency. The best quarterbacks don't just play well once in a while. They perform at a high level almost every week. If Jordan Love reaches that level, the Packers immediately become a much more dangerous football team. But a quarterback is only as good as the players around him. And that's where Green Bay's young offense becomes fascinating. For several years, Packers fans have heard the same phrase, be patient. That patience may finally start paying off. The front office has invested heavily in young talent. Instead of chasing expensive veterans, they've trusted player development. Now, those players have valuable experience. They understand the offense. They know the coaching staff's expectations. And perhaps most importantly, they've started building chemistry together. That chemistry can't be bought. It only develops through practice, mistakes, and real game experience. When an offense begins trusting each other instinctively, everything becomes faster, routes become sharper, timing improves, explosive plays become more common. That's why many people believe this offense hasn't reached its ceiling yet. In fact, some believe we're only beginning to see what this group can become. But football isn't only about offense, because one overlooked area could decide whether Green Bay wins close games this season. Think back to games where the Packers came up just short. Often, the offense did enough to keep the team competitive. The difference usually came in the final minutes. Getting one more stop. Forcing one more turnover. Winning one more third down. Championship defenses don't have to dominate every drive. They simply have to make the biggest plays at the biggest moments. That's exactly what Green Bay needs this season. If the defense becomes more disciplined, if communication improves, and if the pass rush consistently creates pressure, the entire team becomes much harder to beat. Because suddenly, Jordan Love doesn't need to score on every possession. The offense can play smarter instead of desperately. That's the balance every contender wants. And speaking of contenders, there's one reason many analysts still hesitate to put Green Bay among the NFC favorites. Talent isn't the question anymore. Potential isn't the question either. The real question is experience. Can one of the NFL's youngest teams handle the pressure that comes with real expectations? Last year, the Packers were the underdog. Nobody expected much. This year is different. Now people are watching. Opponents are preparing differently. Every game carries more pressure. How it works, the Packers won't just surprise people this season. They could become one of the NFL's most exciting teams for years to come. But before we decide whether this plan will actually succeed, there's one final piece of the puzzle, and it may be the most important factor of all. Can this team handle the pressure when the spotlight gets brighter? So after looking at the roster, the coaching staff, and the long-term vision, one question still remains. What will actually determine whether this season is remembered as a success? It's not just talent, it's not just coaching, and it's definitely not just one player. It's how this team responds when things stop going according to plan. Every NFL contender faces adversity. A tough loss. A key injury. A fourth quarter collapse. A game where nothing seems to work. The difference between good teams and great teams is how they respond after those moments. That's the real test waiting for Green Bay. If this young roster stays confident and keeps improving, they have every reason to believe they can compete with anyone. But if frustration starts creeping in, if mistakes begin piling up, the pressure will only grow. And that's where true leadership becomes priceless. Head coach Matt LaFleur has already proven he can win football games, but this season might be his biggest challenge yet. Why? Because expectations have changed. When a team is rebuilding, fans are patient. When a team starts winning, patience disappears. Now, every decision will be questioned. Every timeout. Every fourth down call. Every offensive adjustment. Every defensive decision. That's simply life for an NFL head coach. The encouraging part is that LaFleur has built a culture where players continue believing in the process. That trust matters, because when players trust their coaching staff, they play faster, they play more confidently, and they recover from mistakes much quicker. If Green Bay continues developing under LaFleur's system, this team could become one of the most disciplined teams in football. But coaching alone isn't enough. The players still have to deliver when the biggest moments arrive. Now comes the question every Packers fan wants answered. Can this team actually compete with the best teams in the NFC? The honest answer, yes. But there's a difference between competing and consistently winning. The Packers have the talent. They have one of the league's youngest and most exciting cores. They have a quarterback whose confidence continues to grow. They have a coaching staff that believes in development. Now they need consistency. Because championship teams don't rely on one incredible performance. They perform every single week. That's the standard Green Bay is chasing. If Jordan Love continues improving, if the defense creates more game-changing plays, and if the young playmakers keep developing together. There's no reason this team can't make a serious playoff run. In fact, that possibility may be closer than many people realize. Remember the question we asked at the very beginning? What is the Packers' biggest secret? After looking at everything, here's the answer. It isn't one hidden superstar. It isn't one surprise signing. It isn't one bold prediction. The real secret is that Green Bay has stayed committed to a long-term plan while everyone else was chasing short-term success. They trusted young players. They trusted development. They trusted patience. That approach doesn't always create headlines, but history has shown that organizations with a clear vision often put themselves in the best position to succeed. Will that guarantee a Super Bowl? Of course not. Nothing in the NFL is guaranteed, but it does give Packers fans something incredibly valuable. Hope, and perhaps, for the first time in a while, real reasons to believe the future is brighter than many people expected. Here's my prediction. The Packers won't be perfect. There will be tough losses. There will be moments where this young team still looks inexperienced. But they'll also have games that remind everyone why this roster is so exciting. Jordan Love will continue growing. The offense should become more comfortable within Matt LaFleur's system. And if the defense takes even a modest step forward, Green Bay has a legitimate opportunity to surprise a lot of people this season. Maybe that's the biggest secret after all. Not that the Packers have arrived, but that they're much closer than the rest of the NFL thinks. And sometimes that's exactly how championship teams begin their journey. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think the Packers are ready to take the next step, or do you believe they're still 1 year away from becoming true Super Bowl contenders? Drop your prediction in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more Packers news, analysis, roster